So there is new information coming out of Germany stating that they are now going to subject the unvaccinated portion of the population to a new lockdown, where they will not be able to go out and do anything that is non-essential. Now, I've got a couple things I want to say on this, but first I'm going to read an article from The Guardian by John Henley, which says, quote, "Daily new infections in Germany have broken records in recent weeks, with many hospitals operating at or over capacity. Authorities said 73,209 new cases were recorded in the past 24 hours. Deaths have surged from a rolling 7-day average of just over 10 a day in August to nearly 300 this week." Merkel said, now Merkel is the current acting chancellor in Germany. Merkel said Germany's Ethics Council would issue formal guidance on a vaccine mandate, and the Bundestag would vote on the legislation by the end of the year. If passed, the rule would come into force from February. "Given the situation, I think it is appropriate to adopt compulsory vaccination," said Merkel, who is due to hand over to Scholz next week. The move would follow the example of neighboring Austria, which is planning mandatory vaccinations from February. Greece also announced mandatory jabs for those over 60, with unvaccinated people facing fines if they fail to comply. Merkel also announced a blanket ban on people who have not been vaccinated or recovered from COVID from entering bars, restaurants, theaters, cinemas, and other leisure venues, as well as non-essential shops and Christmas markets. In areas where the incident rate exceeds 350 per 100,000 people, discos and nightclubs will close. If only Germany could see the implications of their actions. And we all know what happened last time Germany acted on what they thought was the greater good. Segregating parts of their population, potentially mandating vaccines. This is not progress, folks. The entire world, as we know it, is in a regressive state because of COVID-19. Another thing I want to say is it always seemed to me that some of these countries in maybe the UK or other countries throughout the world have kind of looked down their nose at the United States because we continue to let the general population be armed. Like we are living in medieval times in the United States because people still have the right to bear arms. Okay, this is exactly why. Everybody is going to understand why. As things become more strict, as government overreach continues, everybody is going to slowly come to the same conclusion that we were right. We were right to not give up our firearms. Okay, Australia is understanding this. Other countries who are going to face very harsh crackdowns because of COVID, they're going to understand why the United States has refused to give up their firearms, why the people of this country have refused to give up their firearms. One of my favorite political videos of all time is an interview between Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro, and they were debating gun control. And Piers Morgan was trying to make the point that maybe the United States should adopt some of the things that the UK had done in regards to gun control. And Ben Shapiro responded by saying that the reason why it is important for people to retain the right to bear arms is because he could easily see a tyranny rising up in this country within the next 50 to 100 years. That was 8 years ago, folks. And here we are. Now, I understand that the United States is not exactly the same as these other countries. What's going on in the United States isn't exactly the same as the things that are happening in other countries. But there is a part of me that believes if we did not have the Second Amendment protecting us, that we would be right alongside Australia. We would be right alongside Germany. Okay, in a lot of ways, we are not that far behind. Look at what they have already taken from us. I mean, we've got another mandate rolling up on us that is supposed to take place on January 4th. Okay, it never ends. It never ends. And for those people that are saying on social media that there's always going to be another variant, you're correct. There's always going to be a reason because the government has obtained this power, there's always going to be a reason for them to keep it. Okay, you would think that as science has progressed, okay, as we have become more knowledgeable about COVID-19, we have more resources at our disposal to combat COVID-19. We have a vaccine available if you want to take it. You would think that the mandates would fade away. But no, it continues on, it continues to evolve, and it is part of the plan. It is part of the opportunity. They have seized the opportunity to take as much control as they have. And compared to some of these other countries, I mean, the US has been fortunate that we have not seen as harsh of a crackdown as some of these other countries, but the opportunity, again, they have seized it here as well. They've already taken things from us, and sometimes it just kind of seems like we're waiting around. It's like what's the end game, right? Like what is the tipping point of all of this? And you are seeing it in other countries. You are seeing a tipping point, or getting ready to see a tipping point in some of these other countries, where they have just completely disregarded people's choices. They have complete disregard for privacy, complete disregard for people making their own decisions, because it's all about what the government knows, and the government always knows best. Okay, anybody who knows anything about history would know that this is just the start. This is what's going on in Germany, what's going on in some of these other countries. Okay, this is the beginning, and you might look at it now and say, well, it's for the greater good. It's the government knows best. It's best for everyone. So we're going to let them have control over this, over the medical aspect of our lives. Okay, but then it will extend to everything else. That's what history has taught us.